All right, welcome everybody. We're here today on an occasion where might just cause us to stay outside the rest of the day. It is that nice. What a perfect spot we have in the midst of Buttonwood Park to talk about enjoying the public spaces of our city. And so you guys are too young for this press conference. So we have, in the course of the last few years, we've worked very hard as a community to make our public spaces work for everybody, and that effort has entailed careful planning, thoughtful programming, and just a lot of hard work. And that's because New Bedford's a place that commits itself to making the benefits of living here available to everyone from every walk of life, of every background, and of every age. And in the last few years, we've become especially sensitive to the needs to offer a quality of life, especially to our seniors, that is one that they deserve in their senior years. And so we've worked very closely, our Council on Aging, as well as our Council on Aging, as well as a number of other city departments, Parks and Recreation, Planning, Community Services. It goes right on down the line with our private sector partners, many of whom are here today, to create new opportunities for seniors. In New Bedford, as in the rest of America these days, our population is getting older. People are living longer, and that is a blessing. We want to make sure that those later years are, in fact, blessed and full of opportunities. And so we have, over the course of the last few years, more specifically, worked on making sure that our public spaces are accessible to folks who may be less mobile, to work with all of our departments to make sure that programming is varied and engaged and scheduled appropriately. And we worked very hard to understand the needs of seniors and have adopted our programs, tailored our programs to meet those needs. So I'm not going to give away the punchline here. We have Mike Festa from AARP who's going to give away the punchline to all that. But I do want to, why we're here today in particular, but I do want to thank Mike and AARP for working so closely with us, being such a great partner over the last few years. And as we've worked hard to make New Bedford an age-friendly city, I want to thank Deborah Lee and Cynthia Walquist and Pamela Amaral Lima for all of their hard work, as well as the entire Council on Aging for keeping seniors in the forefront of their minds as we as a city work to elevate our quality of life. We've often talked about the need for New Bedford to strive to have a higher quality of life than other cities, because we see it not only as an end in itself, but also as a means of generating economic activity. We think that if New Bedford is known as a great place to live for people of all ages, that will lead to other benefits, both anticipated and unanticipated. So this is a high priority for us, as it should be, and we want to make sure everybody feels included in our community. So with all that, there are other people to thank. I'll mention after I introduce Mike. But again, I really want to thank him and AARP for all their close work with us over the last few years, and call you up to make an announcement.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor, very much. First of all, thank you to the folks behind me. I see very familiar faces and great people. My name is Mike Festa. I'm the State Director for AARP. And Mayor, it's always a pleasure to come down to the South Coast, and in particular to New Bedford, because I know that, well, number one, you are one of the first communities in the Commonwealth to step up, and you, through your leadership, to embrace the age-friendly movement. And it really has become a movement. In the early days, when AARP said with the World Health Organization, it's important fundamentally important that as we recognize and as the mayor said, the blessing of having an older population and one that is living longer and really enjoys community and needs to be part of community, that there was a path to do this in a planning sense, in a way of creating priority around how a city looks at its population. And I'm not speaking only of those who are seniors themselves. The mayor knows this well. I know the volunteers who have worked so hard on the action plan know this well. This is about whatever age you find yourself in the city of New Bedford. The city is committed to ensuring that you have accessible, welcoming, and a genuine sense of community. And what does that mean by definition? It means that people can get around. People can be in a built environment such as a park or in the buildings, and more, maybe not tangible, but just as important, feel connected to community. Part of that is physical transportation opportunity and being more sensible about how one embraces the notion that in order to have a transportation system which is effective for all ages, you need to plan for that. You need to be sure that in the places where seniors are living, they are having access to affordable transportation options. So as you consider what age-friendly is about, it is first and foremost a recognition that all people who live in a city like New Bedford want to be able to live many, many years and knowing that they are going to continue to be part of the community. And one of the areas I have to say that I think the city has really made a great strides is acknowledging that when you do a master plan and you look at your city departments and you consider how a budget's being spent, to apply an age-friendly lens to the work is the thoughtful way to acknowledge that spending that money, it's not so much as more or less or in any way affecting that budget, but knowing that you're intelligently applying the principles of age-friendly to that effort. So I'm here to say, I'm very happy to tell you that, not surprisingly, frankly, because of I want to acknowledge right at this minute, this is all about the volunteers as much as it is the city itself. I think this is what makes the New Bedford effort particularly strong is that as I look at folks like Paula and Deb and others and Jerry and George and many others here, the volunteers who step forward and encourage the mayor and encourage the city departments to look at age-friendly as a serious undertaking, your efforts have ultimately resulted in an action plan which is very focused on ensuring that there will be a sustainable commitment by the city of New Bedford that age-friendly will be really the kind of, it's no longer just an ideal. There is a roadmap to effective implementation. So AARP nationally has just informed me that that action plan has been accepted. It is, as you know, the city of New Bedford was actually featured in one of our magazines called Where We Live. And, you know, frankly, that's 100 communities around the entire country. So that was in and of itself a real honor. But now we're at the point where AARP wants to acknowledge publicly that New Bedford submitted an action plan that was robust, that was credible, that was thoughtful, and that ultimately is going to be giving the community the confidence that we're going to see people as they age in this city really impacted positively by the work that's going to be done. Now, AARP, I also want to say, we stand committed to do our part. It's not just having a volunteer like Jerry Flaherty, who's a member of our executive council, and I also want to acknowledge Sandy Albright, our state president, who's down from a little north of here. But, you know, that commitment by us is going to be to ensure that whether it is you know, a mini grant that might be needed to fund a particular shovel-ready project, whether it's going to be an ongoing effort through our webinars and our online presence and our resources to give strength to the work and to give support to the work. We commit to those things for sure. It's really up to the team locally to tell us where there may be opportunity. And I just want to, as the state director assure you that we will take very seriously any opportunities that you present to us where there may be that collaborative effort that we can engage in. So I want to end by sort of a point that I made in passing as a point of emphasis. A successful age-friendly community, as it is doing the work, is by definition successful because all of the critical pieces to the puzzle have been put together. And those pieces are quite evident in this city. It starts with leadership in the executive branch, and that big piece of the puzzle has been in place for a while. It starts with the city government and each and every one of the departments that have a relevant impact on the age-friendly work connected to that process. And that's a big piece of the puzzle. It's another piece to acknowledge that we have, you are very, I say we, you are very fortunate to have people like Paula Shiner and the department head who specifically is focused on the work at the senior center. But frankly, as we were talking, before this conference, acknowledging that this is really going all over the city department. That kind of leadership at the community advocacy level is critical. And then the idea that the businesses, the community leaders that are more neighborhood focused, that are more issue focused, have been included in the process. All of those things, all of those pieces to the puzzle have been put together. And it is just wonderful, in a way it's serendipitous to have a wonderful day to acknowledge this wonderful progress. And on behalf of AARP Massachusetts and AARP National, I commend the city for this extraordinary action plan, and we stand committed to support you each and every way in the long haul, when we know that many years from now you'll look back and say this commitment was real, it was sustained, and it had genuine quality impact for the people of this great city. So thank you on behalf of AARP, and well done.
You want to say a word about the designation, or?
Yeah, well, I mean, what specific designation are you talking about? Accepting the... That one. Oh my God! That's yes. My punchline. I thought that was. Oh, please forgive me. Well, this is the way it works. You see, we kind of got caught in the weeds here. The designation actually has been out there as a fundamental commitment of AARP to the city of New Bedford, acknowledging that you, in fact, are a age-friendly designated city. That. All right, here we go. It's sort of like, hey, the weather's nice. I thought that was rather evident, but please forgive me. But the finer point is, we are here today to remind folks that the action plan, which is the second phase, the real evidence of the commitment to the community, is what's also being acknowledged by AARP National as an extraordinary statement of an effort to really implement the age-friendly work. So designation for sure, followed by the substance of the action that will follow and is continuing as we speak. So thank you.
All right, sounds good. Very good. All right. Got that right. No, that's good. Okay. That's good. No, Mike, all that other stuff was good because you kind of hinted at money that might be available. I took notice along the way. No, but thank you. We really appreciate the partnership. We appreciate all the volunteers, of course. I want to acknowledge Paula Shiner's great work at Coastline Elderly Services and everybody else who's been involved in it, because it is a lot of hard work. And we talk a lot about quality of life, and again, just to add one other comment, when you get right down to it, especially in cities, this work is much about cultivating a sense of belonging. And when you feel like you're connected to the community because there are things available, because you can engage readily, you feel like you're part of something bigger than yourself. And frankly, that's a competitive advantage for cities vis-a-vis their suburbs. When people are living in closer quarters and closer proximity to one another, but closer to public spaces, to programs, and they feel like they can interact with others readily, whatever age they are, then you got something good. So thank you. This is really important for our city. So spearheading the city's effort is our Director of the Council on Aging, Deb Lee, who's done fabulous work along the way, bringing a real sort of common sense sensibility, but also a real determination to move this effort forward, because it is sort of a multifaceted effort. And I just wanted to thank you, Deb, for your great work and your team's work, and ask you to come on up and say a few words.
So it's been a long trip, and we're very excited now to have this designation of age-friendly, livable community. I couldn't have done it without the team, all these folks behind us, and lots of other people added to that. Having this status and this designation is very helpful for us in terms of grant monies. We've already secured a $40,000 grant through Boston University due to the fact that we are an age-friendly city, so that's very exciting, and there's more to come. That opens up all kinds of opportunity for us. I think the most exciting part of this whole process is that we had lots of city departments working together collaboratively. At each of these meetings that happened, telling us what those particular departments were doing that we had no idea. So having all these people come together to talk, to say what they're doing, the different agencies in the city working together, it's been a real eye-opening experience and very exciting. I want to thank you all for sharing in our excitement, and I have one last thing to do, is to have the folks.
All right.
There it is.
Move it in front of the podium.
Wow, look at that.
Over the podium.
Yeah.
There we go.
Deborah,
Now that's what makes it.
come on up. Come share in the sign. Come on up.
Yeah, please. Let's all get behind it. George, come on over, buddy.
George.
Come on. George, we're going to hide your legs with the poster. Don't worry.
Get behind the podium, George. You'll be fine.
I like George.
Don't you miss these things? Come on.
Love to be part of this.
We couldn't have done this without our partners at Coastline. It's been a real joy to work with, as well as AARP. So thank you, everyone, and go New Bedford!
Yeah. There we go. All right, nice job, guys. Yeah, go ahead, Deborah, go ahead.
So I'm Paula Shiner, and I'm from Coastline, and I have been co-chairing this effort for several years with Deborah. We are looking very closely at 8 specific domains, so I will highlight just a couple of those for you. One is health and wellness, and looking at different types of programs that we can offer that will improve the health and well-being of not only our seniors, but also all members of the community. Another domain that was mentioned previously is transportation, and making sure that there is transportation available to not only medical appointments, but also for grocery shopping, for social activities. And speaking of social activities, we are also looking at social inclusion as a domain. This is a perfect example of a place where we can socially include elders. We have a wonderful zoo right next door to us. We just want to be sure that all of our green space, all of our open space, and all of our social activities are available and accessible to everyone in the community. So I could go on for a lot longer, but just to give you kind of a few pieces of information about the domain work which is embedded into the action plan. We are actually working with CERTA to reevaluate, because they're in the middle right now of working on, I guess you would call it, their strategy for the next several years. Our biggest challenge here are the off hours, the weekends, the holidays, and making sure transportation is available then. And then also the medical appointments, the door-to-door, which the Council on Aging does address through their vans. So it's really looking at the individual needs of the elders to make sure that between public transportation and the city transportation and private transportation, they're getting where they need to be when they need to be there.
We could get you a copy of the report.
If that is helpful? Yeah, no problem. Because it will take me for, yeah, but at least you've got some highlights.
You left out the new swan boats.
After this, I want everybody to go over the swamp.
Yeah.
They're great. Thank you.
Nice job. That was perfect.